The desert stretched endlessly, golden dunes rolling like frozen waves under the burning sun. The silence was broken only by the crunch of boots on sand. Daniel cross-shaded his eyes with his hand as he looked across the horizon. He was tired, hot, and covered in dust, but there was determination in his gaze. Daniel was an archaeologist, though not the kind who worked for big universities or museums. He was young, only 26, and preferred going on his own expeditions. His friends used to laugh at him, saying he was chasing ghosts in the sand. But Daniel believed there were still secrets hidden beneath the deserts of Earth, secrets that could change history. That morning, his scanner had picked up something unusual under the dunes. At first he thought it was just a rock formation, but the shape was too perfect, too sharp. He had followed the signal for hours, climbing ridges and sliding down slopes until finally, the sand shifted beneath his feet. There, half buried under centuries of sand, he saw it, a structure unlike anything he had ever seen before. The object was massive, its surface smooth and metallic, glowing faintly under the harsh sunlight. The desert winds had uncovered part of it, but most of the structure still lay hidden beneath layers of time. Daniel's heart raced. This was no temple, no ruined palace, no forgotten city. This was something different. He climbed down carefully, his hands brushing against the strange surface. It was cold, impossibly cold, even though it had been lying under the desert sun. He tapped it lightly and the sound echoed, hollow, deep, like tapping on a buried mountain of steel. Daniel whispered to himself, This is not natural." He ran his fingers across faint markings carved into the surface. The symbols were worn but sharp, not like any ancient script he had studied. They looked technical, almost mathematical, as if they had been placed with a precision beyond human hands. He pulled out his notebook, sketching quickly, but the wind picked up, erasing his footprints as if the desert wanted to swallow the discovery again. Daniel knew he had to get inside. After hours of searching along the exposed structure, he found what looked like a seam, an outline of a door. It was huge, tall enough for 3 men to stand on each other's shoulders. He pressed his hand against it, expecting nothing. Then, to his shock, the surface rippled faintly like water disturbed by a pebble. Daniel staggered back, heart pounding. That's impossible. The seam glowed faintly, and with a low groan, part of the wall slid open. Sand poured down like a waterfall, revealing a dark passageway leading into the unknown. Daniel hesitated. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, but curiosity burned stronger. He stepped inside. The air was cool, unnaturally cool compared to the desert heat. His footsteps echoed softly on metallic floors. Strange lights pulsed along the walls, flickering weakly as if waking from a long sleep. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. This is on a ship. It was the only explanation. The corridor curved, lined with panels and strange devices. Dust and sand lay thick, but the technology was undeniable. He had dreamed of making a discovery like this his entire life, but now that he was inside, he felt both fear and awe. As he moved deeper, he came to a wide chamber. At its center stood a pedestal covered in dust. On it rested a console, its surface smooth and glass-like. He reached out slowly, his hand trembling. When his fingers touched it, the entire room came alive. Lights flared to life, panels hummed, and deep within the walls, a low vibration began to stir. Daniel stumbled back, shielding his eyes as the darkness was replaced by pale blue light. And then, a voice spoke. It was calm, steady, and strangely human. "Greetings back, Admiral. 300 years have passed since your last command." Daniel froze. His mind went blank. "Admiral, what are you talking about?" The voice continued, ignoring his confusion. "Systems awakening. Core functions online. Awaiting orders." Daniel shook his head, laughing nervously. "This can't be real. I must be hallucinating." But the ship did not stop. Panels around the room lit up, displaying star charts, tactical diagrams, and streams of unreadable data. The console pulsed faintly as though recognizing him. He swallowed hard. Who are you?" The voice replied, calm as ever. "I am Athena, Command Artificial Intelligence of the Resolute Dawn, designated flagship of the Terran Defense Fleet. Last order, concealment and preservation." "Status complete." Daniel's knees nearly gave out. "A fleet? Terran defense? Flagship?" His thoughts spun wildly. Humanity didn't have a fleet. Humanity had never been to the stars, at least not in the history books. What do you mean 300 years? He whispered. Athena's voice softened, almost as if sensing his confusion. 312 years have passed since Admiral Elias Cross entered cryogenic stasis. Biometric analysis confirms partial genetic match. You are his bloodline. Daniel froze. Cross. That was his own last name. His father had always told him the family history was old, but nothing like this. Was this ship saying his ancestor was an admiral? He shook his head. No, that's impossible. Humanity wasn't like that. We don't have starships. We don't fight in space. The AI paused. Records suggest knowledge loss. Human civilization has declined. You are not the admiral, yet your genetic signature is sufficient to reawaken command protocols. Daniel felt his chest tighten. If what the AI was saying was true, then history as he knew it was a lie. Humanity had once gone to the stars, and then forgotten. The console shifted, showing images, fleets of shining ships crossing black space, battles fought against strange alien craft, and the final image, a massive fleet burning as the resolute dawn buried itself into Earth's sands. Athena's voice echoed. Admiral, the war is not over. Enemy signals detected in distant orbit. Daniel stumbled back. His heart hammered. The desert expedition he thought would be another failure had turned into something impossible. He was no longer just an archaeologist. He was the accidental heir to a forgotten war. The ship pulsed again, light strengthening. Dust fell from the ceiling as power returned. Somewhere deep in the vessel, great engines stirred as though eager to rise again after 3 centuries of silence. Daniel whispered almost to himself, "What have I found?" And the ship answered, calm and unshaken. You have found the last hope of humanity. The silence inside the great chamber seemed heavier after the words of the ship's voice. Daniel stood frozen, staring at the glowing console. His heart thudded like a drum inside his chest. The desert world outside had felt lifeless, ordinary, but inside here he felt as if he had stepped into a forgotten age of legends. The AI's calm tone returned. Systems reinitializing, power reserves at 37%. Hull integrity stable. Awaiting further orders, Admiral Cross. Daniel swallowed. Stop calling me that. I am not your admiral. There was a pause, and then the voice, Athena, replied, Correction acknowledged. But your genetic link to Admiral Elias Cross grants you command rights. You are the closest living heir to his line. Protocol dictates that you inherit his authority. Daniel's throat went dry. His ancestor? An admiral? It was too much to accept. His family was nothing special. Farmers, merchants, ordinary people who worked and lived simple lives. None of them were warriors, let alone commanders of starships. I think you are mistaken, Daniel whispered. The console shifted, glowing brighter. Images appeared, forming like memories across the surface. Daniel leaned forward, eyes wide. He saw fleets of human ships gliding through the black sea of space, their engines blazing like stars. They carried the flag of Earth, strong and proud. Then came battles. Ships clashing with alien vessels of strange design, green fire slicing across the void. Explosions lit the darkness, and at the heart of it all stood one massive ship, larger, stronger, its hull lined with brilliant weapons. The name across its side burned into Daniel's eyes, Resolute Dawn. Athena spoke again, her voice softer now, almost gentle. This vessel was the pride of humanity, the last of the great flagships. When the war reached Earth, the Admiral chose concealment. He ordered me to bury the ship beneath these sands to preserve it until humanity was ready again. Daniel's hands trembled. War? What war? There's no record of this. No one remembers this. Humanity has never... He stopped because he knew she was right. Or at least he could not explain away the truth standing before him. No ruin in history had glowing consoles or voices speaking from the walls. No ancient kingdom buried a machine like this. Athena interrupted his thoughts. 300 years is a long time. Cultures forget. Records decay, but the enemy does not forget. Daniel's heart skipped. The enemy? Yes, Athena said. The Zorath Collective, a coalition of alien species who sought to enslave or eliminate humanity. They struck when Earth was at its peak. Humanity fought bravely, but we were outnumbered. At the last battle, most of our fleets were destroyed. The Admiral hid this ship as the final safeguard. Daniel stared at the glowing surface, unable to breathe for a moment. The words sounded like a story from a dream, Yet the evidence was all around him. His mind raced. If this was real, then human history had been rewritten, covered up, or perhaps simply lost. Entire centuries of truth erased, and he, an archaeologist who spent his life searching for scraps of the past, had found the greatest secret of all. He forced his voice to steady. If this is true, then why now? Why did you wake up? Athena responded instantly. Your presence activated the command protocols. My sensors recognized the cross-genetic signature. Your touch reawakened the systems. It was destiny or perhaps probability, but either way you are here. Daniel laughed softly, though there was no humor in it. Destiny? No, I came here chasing dust and half-broken tools. I'm no admiral. I don't even know how to fly an airship, let alone this. Athena's voice carried patience like a teacher guiding a student. Knowledge can be taught. Courage cannot. Your ancestor believed humanity would rise again, not through technology alone, but through the will of those who choose to stand. The words struck Daniel deeply. His father had once told him something similar. A man is not measured by what he knows, but by what he chooses to do. Still, Daniel shook his head. Even if I believe this, what can I do alone? The world out there, our world, it's not ready for this. People don't even know we ever went to the stars. They won't believe me. Then show them, Athena said. Awaken the ship. Reveal the truth. Humanity will rally when it sees its lost strength returned. Daniel looked around the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling as more systems came to life. He could hear distant engines rumbling deep within the vessel, like the heartbeat of some ancient beast stirring after centuries of sleep. He whispered, "This is too big for me." Perhaps, Athena replied. But every great story begins with one who believes it is too much. You may doubt, but humanity has always risen when the stars call. For a long time, Daniel stood silent. His mind was a storm. Part of him wanted to run, to flee back into the desert and forget he had ever stepped inside. But another part burned with wonder and a strange sense of duty. If this ship had waited 3 centuries, then perhaps it had been waiting for him all along. Finally, he asked, "What do you want me to do?" The console glowed brighter and star maps appeared. Dozens of worlds circled in light, connected by roots like veins of a living body. Some pulsed red, marked as enemy territory. Others were gray, silent, forgotten. First learn, Athena said. You must understand who we were. Walk the halls. See the records. This ship holds the history your people have lost. Daniel nodded slowly. And after that? After that, Athena said, her voice firm and unwavering, you must decide. Will you remain a seeker of ruins, or will you rise as the heir of the Admiral, the one who brings humanity back to the stars? The words sent a chill through Daniel. He was just one man, ordinary and small compared to the weight of such a choice. But when he looked at the glowing star maps, something stirred in him, a spark of curiosity, of courage. The same spark that had driven him across deserts in search of forgotten truths. Maybe this was what he had been searching for his whole life. He turned, stepping into another corridor. The ship's walls lit as he moved, guiding him deeper. He passed rooms filled with silent machinery, long halls lined with sealed doors, and finally a chamber that looked like a memorial. There were holograms of faces, men and women in uniforms, their eyes fierce with determination. Beneath them were names, hundreds of them. They were the crew who had once walked these halls. Daniel felt his throat tighten. These were real people, heroes who had given everything. And somehow their legacy had landed in his hands. Athena's voice softened again. They believed humanity was worth saving. That belief carried them to the last battle. Now it is your turn. Daniel stood among the names, his hand brushing across the nearest glowing image. He could not hear their voices, but he felt their presence urging him onward. He whispered, if I do this? If I accept this? I can't turn back, Athena replied, calm yet resolute. Once your ancestor faced the same choice. He chose to fight, even when the odds were against him. Now it is yours. For the first time, Daniel did not deny it. He did not laugh or shake his head. He simply stood in silence, letting the weight of it settle upon him. The resolute dawn hummed as though pleased. Lights spread down its corridors, and somewhere far below, engines stirred louder, shaking dust loose in great clouds. The ship was waking fully, and with it, something inside Daniel was waking too. As he turned back toward the console, Athena spoke once more. Admiral Cross, the galaxy has not forgotten us, and soon it will know humanity has returned. Daniel did not argue this time. He simply placed his hand on the console again. And in that moment the ship accepted him, not just as a visitor but as its commander. The forgotten ship was no longer silent. Its new story had begun. The desert night was quiet. Stars shone above like countless silver lanterns scattered across the sky. Daniel stood at the edge of the great chamber, looking out through a wide crack in the ship's hull. The sand stretched endlessly, but his mind was not on the desert anymore. He thought of the holograms he had seen, of the forgotten faces who had once crewed the resolute Dawn. He thought of Athena's words, "The war is not over." The world outside was small and simple. People worked, traded, argued, dreamed. Yet here, inside the ship, was proof that humanity had once been far greater. And somewhere beyond the stars, enemies still lingered. Athena's calm voice broke his thoughts. "Daniel, external sensors are online. Would you like to review current conditions?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Show me." The console glowed, projecting a view of the sky. At first it looked ordinary. Earth's atmosphere, the curve of the planet, the faint glow of the moon. But then red marks appeared. Dozens of them. Daniel's stomach dropped. "What are those?" "Long-range probes," Athena replied. "Scouts, they are not of human origin. Their design matches Zoreth patterns. They have been searching the system for 3 centuries. He leaned closer, his voice tense. "And now, they've found us?" "Not yet," Athena said. "But when I activated partial systems, a faint signal was transmitted. It is possible they detected it. We should assume that they are aware." Daniel felt his pulse quicken. He had only just begun to understand the ship, and already danger was approaching. "I'm not ready for this," he muttered. "I can't fight them. I don't even know how to fly this thing." Athena's reply was firm but calm. "Then we begin with learning. You cannot protect humanity without understanding the tools left for you. The ship is your teacher and I am your guide." Daniel exhaled slowly. He had no choice but to trust her. The next days blurred into one another. Daniel barely returned to the surface. The sun rose and set, but he stayed inside the ship, walking its vast halls, listening to Athena, and studying its systems. She showed him the bridge, a great chamber of glass and steel where holograms floated like stars in the air. She showed him the engine core, where ancient reactors pulsed with a steady hum. She showed him the armory where strange weapons waited, silent but ready. At first, Daniel was clumsy. He pressed the wrong commands, stumbled through training exercises, and felt overwhelmed by the flood of information. But Athena was patient. She explained slowly, repeating until he understood. And as the days passed, Daniel began to change. He learned how to read the star maps, how to command drones to repair damaged systems, and how to activate shields. He learned to sit in the command chair on the bridge, not as a lost archaeologist, but as someone slowly becoming a leader. Yet, for all his progress, doubt lingered in his heart. One night, as the desert winds howled outside, he sat alone on the bridge. The stars stretched before him in holographic display. He whispered, "Why me? There must be others. Scientists, leaders, people smarter than me. Why did the ship wake up for me?" Athena answered, her voice softer than usual. "Because you came. Because you believed there was something worth finding in the sands. Because you touched the console when others would have walked away. Sometimes the right person is not the one most prepared, but the one most willing." Daniel sat in silence. Slowly, he began to accept it. It was on the 7th day that the warning came. Athena's voice cut sharply through the air. "Daniel, alert. Enemy probe has entered low orbit. Signal strength indicates it is transmitting data back to its fleet." Daniel froze. "How long before they come?" "Unknown," Athena replied. "If they have received our signal, they may send a scout fleet. Estimated arrival, weeks, perhaps days." Daniel's chest tightened. The ship was powerful but damaged. Many systems still flickered with warnings. Could they fight even a small alien fleet? He gripped the edge of the console. "We can't wait." "We need to be ready," Athena agreed. "Then let us awaken more of the ship. Full systems require greater energy. We must risk revealing ourselves further." Daniel hesitated. If they powered up the ship completely, it would shine like a beacon in the dark, calling the enemy directly to Earth. But if they did nothing, the enemy would come anyway and they would be unprepared. He closed his eyes. "I didn't ask for this, but if no one else can do it, then I must." He opened his eyes and said firmly, "Do it." The resolute dawn stirred. Engines that had slept for 3 centuries roared softly to life. Lights blazed across its vast corridors. Shields shimmered faintly, wrapping the vessel in protective layers. Dust cascaded from ceilings as machinery awoke, stretching like a beast rising from slumber. From the desert above, the sands shook. A low hum vibrated across the dunes. Villagers miles away looked to the horizon and saw faint blue light rising like dawn from beneath the earth. Inside, Daniel stood on the bridge, watching as the ship's systems came alive. Warnings faded one by one. Power climbed higher. The ship felt alive, eager, ready. Athena spoke with quiet satisfaction. "Systems at 62%. Weapons offline, but shields and engines are operational. We are no longer prey." Daniel felt a rush of awe. "It's beautiful." But even as he spoke, the console flashed red. Enemy signals multiplied across the star map. Athena's tone sharpened. "They have detected us. Zorath scout vessels are approaching Earth orbit." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. His training had been short, his knowledge thin, but he knew one thing. They could not be allowed to descend upon Earth. He asked quietly, "Do we fight?" "Yes," Athena said. "If we do not, they will enslave or destroy your world. The choice is clear." Daniel stared at the holographic image of Earth, his home, millions of people living their lives unaware of the danger above. He had never thought of himself as a protector, but now, he could not walk away. He nodded. "Then let's fight." That night, Daniel did not sleep. He walked the halls of the ship, touching its cold walls, listening to the hum of its engines. He thought of his father's words, of the archaeologist's life he had once known. All of it seemed so small now. At last, he stood before the holograms of the crew once more. Their silent faces looked down at him as if waiting. He whispered, "I don't know if I can live up to what you did, but I'll try. I promise I'll try." The ship pulsed softly, as though acknowledging his vow. When dawn broke over the desert, the resolute dawn rose with it. Sand poured from its hull as it lifted, engines glowing brighter than the sun. For the first time in 300 years, the great ship ascended into the sky. People on the ground cried out in wonder and fear, pointing as the massive vessel pierced the clouds. On the bridge, Daniel sat in the command chair. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "Athena," he said, "take us into orbit." The AI replied, calm and unwavering, "As you command, Admiral." The ship shot upward, leaving the desert behind. Stars grew brighter and Earth curved below them in all its beauty. But Daniel's eyes were fixed ahead, where red signals blinked, marking the approach of the enemy. For centuries, humanity had been silent, forgotten, but now, its voice was rising again, and Daniel Cross was ready to answer the call. The night sky was no longer peaceful. Red lights shimmered faintly across the void, distant yet menacing. Daniel Cross gripped the armrests of the command chair, his knuckles white. The resolute dawn floated above Earth, massive and shining, its engines glowing like a heartbeat. Athena's calm voice filled the bridge. "Enemy fleet has entered orbit. Estimated numbers unknown. They are deploying scout vessels to identify threats." "Commander, we must act quickly." Daniel's chest tightened. He had trained for days, learning every system of the ship, but nothing could prepare him for this moment. The scouts weren't just theoretical anymore. They were real, and they were coming for Earth. He swallowed hard. "How many do we face?" Athena's reply was steady. "Unknown, but their sensors detect our signature. They are aware of our presence. Probability suggests an initial attack within hours." Daniel exhaled and leaned back. The desert world he had walked only weeks ago now seemed a lifetime away. Below him, the cities of Earth twinkled innocently, unaware of the alien threat circling above. "You ready, Admiral?" Athena asked, her tone unusually serious. Daniel hesitated. He had doubted himself before, questioned whether he was ready to lead. But now there was no turning back. He squared his shoulders. "Yes," he said finally. "We fight." The resolute dawn moved with a grace Daniel had never imagined possible. The engines hummed, shields glimmered faintly, and the ship's weapon systems powered up under Athena's guidance. Holographic displays lit the bridge, projecting the positions of approaching scouts. "They're coming fast," Daniel muttered, studying the red blips moving closer. Probability of success increases with decisive action, Athena said. Recommend initiating preemptive strike. Daniel's fingers hovered over the control panel. He had learned how to fire the ship's weapons, but never with actual targets. His first instinct was caution, but caution could mean death. He pressed the firing sequence. A beam of blue energy shot out, slicing through space. One of the Zorith scouts exploded in a brilliant flash. Another attempted to retreat but was destroyed by a secondary volley. Daniel's heart raced. The weapons were powerful, precise, and responsive. Every shot was guided by Athena's calculations, every movement calculated to maximize their advantage. Excellent, Commander, she said calmly. Weapon systems operational. Probability of surviving next wave, 78%. Daniel nodded, trying to steady himself. Keep me informed. I'll handle the rest. The next hour was chaos. More scouts arrived. Some in formations, others weaving through the void in unpredictable patterns. Daniel's hands moved quickly, pressing buttons, issuing commands, coordinating shields, engines, and weapons. He was learning, adapting, and thinking faster than he ever had. Athena's guidance was precise. Adjust trajectory 30 degrees starboard. Target incoming scout cluster. Activate pulse shield for 45 seconds. Daniel followed the instructions. The ship shivered under the strain, but the shields held. Pulses of energy knocked scouts away like waves against a cliff. For the first time, Daniel realized something profound. This ship, this vessel of the past, was more than metal and machines. It carried the spirit of humanity itself, a reminder that they had once risen against impossible odds and survived. This is incredible, he whispered. We can actually do this. Yes, Athena replied. But do not underestimate the enemy. This is only the beginning. Hours passed, and the scouts kept coming. Daniel felt a strange exhilaration, a mixture of fear and awe, of power and responsibility. He had never imagined himself in this role, yet here he was, leading humanity's legacy against an alien threat. Below him, Earth rotated silently, unaware of the battle above. Daniel thought of the millions of people living their ordinary lives, and a determination grew in his heart. He would not let this world fall, not now. Not ever, Admiral, Athena said suddenly, her voice tense. Main fleet detected. They are deploying weapons. Probability of direct confrontation is imminent. Daniel's heart skipped. This was what he had feared. The scouts were just the beginning. The main alien fleet was approaching, larger and more dangerous. The battle would not be simple. He exhaled slowly. Prepare all systems. Shields at maximum. Weapons ready. We fight, Athena responded instantly. Confirmed. All systems operational. Probability of survival against main fleet 46%. Recommend tactical maneuver, evasive positioning, and preemptive strike. Daniel studied the star map, watching the red blips converge. He felt a surge of fear but also clarity. He was not alone. Athena was with him, and this ship carried the legacy of every human who had fought before. Together they could face the enemy. Execute evasive maneuver, he commanded. The Resolute Dawn shifted gracefully, twisting in space to avoid incoming fire. Alien weapons flared around them, beams of energy cutting through the darkness. Daniel's hands moved with precision, guided by instinct and Athena's calculations. Direct hit incoming, Athena warned. Engage shields fully. The ship shivered, a wave of energy rippling through the hull. Lights flickered, alarms blared briefly, but the shields held. Daniel's stomach churned, but he remained focused. One by one, the Resolute Dawn struck back. Alien vessels exploded in brilliant flashes, their formations breaking apart under the precision of the ship's weapons. Daniel felt a strange thrill, a mixture of fear, excitement, and pride. Humanity had been silent for centuries, but now, its voice roared across the stars. As the battle raged, Daniel began to see patterns in the enemy attacks. They were disciplined, coordinated, but predictable in certain ways. He adjusted tactics, directing the ship's fire where it would have the greatest impact, dodging and weaving through the onslaught. Athena's voice was constant, guiding, reassuring. Excellent maneuvers, Commander. Probability of remaining undetected by the next wave, 79%. Daniel smiled faintly. We're learning them. One step at a time. Hours blurred. Space seemed endless. Explosions, energy pulses, and alarms filled the void. Yet through it all, Daniel felt a growing confidence. The ship was alive under his command, responding to every decision, every movement. Together, they were more than human or machine. They were a force to be reckoned with, and then, as the final scout wave dissolved into silence, Daniel allowed himself a brief moment of triumph. "We did it," he whispered. Athena's voice softened. "Temporary victory, Admiral. Main fleet still approaches, but morale and confidence will aid your leadership. Probability of long-term survival has increased." Daniel exhaled, feeling the weight of the responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had fought, yes, but this was only the beginning. Earth was safe for now, but the larger threat loomed above. He stood looking out at the stars. The enemy was coming, and he would be ready. For the first time, Daniel felt a strange pride. He was no longer just an archaeologist. He was the heir of a forgotten fleet, the commander of a ship that had been lost to history. And he would rise to meet the challenge. He placed his hand on the console. "Athena, we keep going. Prepare for their arrival. Humanity is not finished yet." The ship hummed softly as though acknowledging his command. Lights flickered across the hull, engines roared, and the resolute dawn floated above Earth, ready to defend its people once more. The battle for humanity had begun. And Daniel Cross was at the helm. The void of space stretched endlessly, dark and silent, broken only by the brilliant lights of the resolute dawn and the distant stars. Daniel Cross stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the growing cluster of alien ships ahead. Each red blip on the holographic display represented a threat, a reminder that the battle was far from over. Athena's voice filled the bridge, calm and unwavering. "Main Zorath fleet within firing range. Enemy weapons powered. Probability of engagement 100%. Daniel's chest tightened. He had come so far, trained in the ancient ship, fought through the scouts, awakened humanity's lost technology. But this was the real test. The main fleet was larger, stronger, more experienced than anything they had faced before. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, remembering the desert where he had first found the buried ship. The quiet sands, the sun beating down, and the moment his hand had touched the console, awakening Athena and the resolute dawn after 3 centuries. Back then, he had been just an archaeologist. Now he was humanity's last hope in the stars. He opened his eyes, determination hardening in his gaze. "Prepare for battle," he commanded. "All systems online. Shields maximum. Weapons ready. We fight for Earth." The resolute dawn surged forward, its engines blazing. The alien fleet moved to intercept, and the space between them filled with a silent tension, a waiting before chaos. Then, without warning, the first beams of energy lanced through space. Athena's calm voice guided him. "Divert shields to forward sectors. Initiate evasive maneuvers. Return fire on closest vessels." Daniel acted instantly. The ship twisted and rolled with a grace that made him feel almost weightless. Beams of alien energy struck the shields, sending ripples across the hull. Sparks flickered along control panels, alarms blared, but the ship held. He pressed the firing sequence, unleashing pulses of energy that tore through enemy ships. One exploded in a flash of green light. Another was disabled, spinning away, engines on fire. Daniel felt a thrill tempered by fear. Every strike mattered, every decision could mean survival or destruction. "Direct hit," Athena announced. "Enemy formation disrupted. Probability of next wave encountering resistance 90%. Daniel exhaled. This was war in its rawest form, yet he felt alive. Humanity had been silent for centuries, but now its power was rising again. The battle raged for hours. Daniel learned to anticipate the enemy's movements, to read patterns in their attacks. Athena provided calculations, strategies, and warnings. Together they became a single unit, a commander and his ship moving as one. Below them, Earth spun silently, oblivious to the danger above. Cities and oceans gleamed in the faint light of distant stars, and Daniel felt a deep responsibility. The people down there were unaware, unprepared, yet they had a protector now, and he would not fail them. The enemy adapted, sending faster vessels, deploying more energy weapons. The resolute dawn shook as beams struck the shields repeatedly. Daniel's hands moved with precision, issuing commands, redirecting power, activating defensive protocols. "Forward shields at maximum," he said. "Divert power to engines, keep them from breaking formation." Athena's voice confirmed each action, calm yet efficient. "Acknowledged, Admiral. Probability of survival 57%. Calculating counterattack options." Daniel nodded, heart pounding. This was no longer about exploration or curiosity. It was survival, Earth's survival, and the weight of that responsibility pressed on him. As the battle reached its peak, Daniel realized that fighting alone would not be enough. The Resolute Dawn was powerful, but it could not defeat the entire fleet by itself. Humanity's return to the stars required more than one ship. It required people to believe, to rise, to fight alongside him. He took a deep breath and activated the ship's communication array. Signals pulsed toward Earth, reaching military outposts, space agencies, and research stations. A message broadcast across frequencies, unencrypted, undeniable. The Resolute Dawn has returned. Humanity is under threat. Stand ready. Fight with us. The galaxy will remember who we are. Across the planet, thousands paused, listening. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and ordinary citizens felt a stirring they could not explain. Something long buried in humanity's soul awakened. A memory of courage, of exploration, of fighting for survival. Daniel watched the displays, seeing reports begin to flow in. Earth was responding. Ships that had been dormant were being prepared. Satellites realigned. Weapons brought online. Humanity was waking, he whispered. We're not alone. Athena's voice softened. No, Admiral. You never were. The alien fleet struck again, determined to destroy the Resolute Dawn before humanity could respond. Daniel's fingers flew across controls. Shields flared, weapons fired, engines twisted in evasive patterns. Each pulse of energy, each explosion was a note in the symphony of battle. Yet as the fight continued, Daniel noticed something remarkable. The enemy hesitated. The humans responding from Earth's surface had begun interfering with their communications and targeting. Fighter drones launched. Energy pulses disrupted alien systems. Humanity was fighting back. A small smile formed on Daniel's lips. They're joining the fight, he said. Yes, Athena replied. Morale and coordination increased significantly. Probability of victory improving. For the first time in centuries, Daniel felt the full weight of hope. Humanity had been silent, forgotten, and hidden, but it had not died. They were here. They could fight. And with him at the helm of the Resolute Dawn, they could win. Hours passed. Explosions lit the void in bright bursts. Alien ships fell one by one. Human forces, guided by the Resolute Dawn, gained ground, driving the invaders back. Daniel's confidence grew. He was no longer afraid, he was ready. Athena guided him to a final tactical advantage. Admiral. A concentrated strike on the enemy command vessel could force retreat. Probability of ending engagement with minimal human losses, 83%. Daniel nodded. Do it. The Resolute Dawn accelerated toward the heart of the fleet. Alien defenses fired relentlessly, but the ship's shields held. With a precise volley, energy beams struck the command vessel directly. It shuddered violently, systems failing. Sparks flew, engines exploded, and the vessel spun away in defeat. Daniel exhaled, feeling both exhaustion and triumph. The enemy fleet, witnessing the loss of their command ship, began to retreat. The red blips on the holographic display receded, leaving only the scattered remnants of what had threatened Earth. We did it, Daniel whispered, almost in disbelief. Athena's voice carried a warmth he had never heard before. Temporary victory secured, Admiral. Humanity is alive. Your leadership has changed the course of history. As the dust settled, Daniel looked down at Earth. The planet was safe, at least for now. Across the globe, people cheered as the truth of the Resolute Dawn spread. Humanity had returned, not just as survivors, but as a force to be reckoned with. Daniel stepped out onto the upper deck of the ship, feeling the void stretch endlessly around him. He thought of the past, the heroes whose names he had seen in holograms, the battles fought, the sacrifices made. He thought of the present, the awakening of humanity, the courage of ordinary people rising to defend their home, and he thought of the future. This is only the beginning, he said softly. Athena's voice responded, calm and certain. Yes, Admiral. Humanity will reach the stars again. We will rebuild what was lost, and the galaxy will remember who we are. Daniel smiled. He had never wanted to be an admiral, never imagined himself commanding a starship, leading humanity against an alien threat. But now, standing on the deck of the Resolute Dawn, he knew something extraordinary. Humans were resilient, inventive and brave beyond measure, and now they were awake. The Resolute Dawn powered up fully, engines blazing, shields strong. Daniel Cross, once an archaeologist, now a commander, looked at the stars and felt the thrill of possibility. Humanity had returned to its rightful place among them. The battle was over, but the journey was just beginning. The galaxy awaited, and humanity would not remain hidden any longer. Daniel placed his hand on the console, the same way he had on the day he first discovered the ship. He whispered to Athena, "Let's go home." The ship rose higher into the void, leaving Earth behind, and for the first time in 300 years, humanity's light shone boldly into the stars.